Hello and welcome to Rise. I am so delighted to have Christy Whitman with us. She is a New York Times bestseller author and transformational leader. She teaches energy mastery, meditations, and sessions to help clients feel more aligned in the divine design of well-being, success, and abundance. Thank you so much, Christy, for making the time to be here on the summit.
I'm so happy to be with you. Thank you so much for your invitation.
Oh, I'm so excited to dive right into the subject of really being aligned to our purpose and being able to clear that which stands in our way to get there. And I know that this is your area of genius, and I can't wait to dive in.
Beautiful. Absolutely. So, yeah, when we are feeling the energy of what we want to experience. So, it could, for me, it was many years ago when I felt that I had career success and I was making money and I was married and I had my dream. I had all these things going, but I didn't feel purposeful in what I was doing. And I was already on my own growth and journey for a while, personally. And it was when I started feeling the energy of being on purpose, when I started cultivating it through meditation and started coming from the energy perspective of being fulfilled with it instead of lacking it or empty, meaning I don't have it, I'm lacking it. I started to feel more on purpose. And that's when my first book came through me in this whole, journey of becoming an author and a coach, healer, channeler, opened for me in that capacity because I didn't even know that it existed. And so it's the energy that we feel first, and then we draw things to ourselves, things that we, a lot of times beyond our conscious awareness, we don't even know it exists. Like for me, I had no idea the field of being an author and coaching and, I didn't even know that was a possibility. I didn't even know existed. And there's so many different things that we are not even aware of that exist out there that we can just pull that in when we are aligned with it, when we're really allowing the mind to not be so clutchy on who, where, when, how, all the details that we have to push forth and try to figure it out. When we allow the energy to lead in whatever kind of energy we're wanting to connect with, then that's how we start to manifest.
Yeah, and how do we clear those blocks that stands in our way?
Well, when you're starting to connect with that energy and you notice that you're not fully embodying that energy, right? So you're connected to purpose and then you feel pulled. It's like having split energy. You're trying to feel, right? Trying to have the experience of being on purpose. And then you feel pulled away or you feel some kind of resistance. Sometimes the body will communicate and give kind of a twinge or a pain or something will come up and manifest in the body so that you can help clear it. So it's by working with energy principles and literally working with energy to command and move energy in your own body, because even the blocks are energy. Even those past blocks that are traumatic experiences, those moments of where something shocks us or but we kind of get sideswiped. It's one of those jolting moments in life as a human being, right? It could be abuse in many forms. It could be getting news that someone you loved passed on. It could be, the death of a family dog. I mean, car accident. The things that are the surprises that necessarily aren't the delights in life, right? And those are the times where in our energy field we close down our hearts. We would, like a turtle trying to, go inside of its shell. We do that with our hearts and close down around those emotions. And our energy gets stuck and it creates a block. And that energy needs to spiral and spiral and spiral. So it starts to create a vortex that literally starts attracting things to you. And so when you are continuing to attract things to you, that contrast that you necessarily don't want, it's an indication that there's a place that there's a block, right? And if you take yourself back to the jolting moment, right? The moment when we were like that. If you take yourself back, because all time is simultaneous, the past, the energy is still alive when you can think of it, right? It's like if you listen to a song on the radio and it reminds you of a certain time, you can literally put yourself back in the energy from that song, right? Because the energy is still very much alive. And so if you bring yourself back to that jolting moment and allow yourself to stay open this time and to process out the energy, then the block that got blocked can be released. And so it's, it's understanding that we are energy and that all energy carries a vibration, and that vibration is communication that goes out into the universe by law of attraction and brings us more situations and circumstances and events. And if we keep getting some of the things that we don't want or that are in contrast, it's time to look at who is the attractor of it, because we are all attracting everything in our lives. We are creating our reality. Most people would never say, well, I didn't attract that, right? I wouldn't have wanted to create that. Of course you didn't. But the energy and the block, sometimes from a time we don't even remember or thought of in decades, right? It's like we buried it so far, but it keeps attracting things to us. And you can reverse engineer. It's like if you don't like what's happening on the outer, where's the energetic connection to what's happening on the inner? Because once you release that, you no longer attract those things.
I love what you're saying. And, in my language or in my vocabulary, I call those jolts that you're talking about, I call them trauma, right? Because yes, trauma doesn't have to be necessarily something very big and very, huge or something that is, considered to be trauma. It can be simply that closure, that yes, inability to process the feelings or to stay open to what is there. So we close down, and then that creates that blockage that then manifests in the energy, right? So
absolutely.
Yeah, so that's really the process you're talking about. And how can one stay open? How can one, is there any process, is there any technique to be able to receive what we experience?
Yeah, so to have the expectation that we're open all the time, right? It'd be nice, right? It'd be nice if we could set our energy for joy for the rest of our lives and just be open, right? But it's not like going to college and getting a diploma and that forever you have that, that degree, right? You don't ever have that energetic state. And it's something that we have to work on all day, or not all day, but all the time as human beings. Just like, when we are human, right, we have to drink liquid, we have to drink water, and we don't just do it maybe once a day, we do it several times a day. And like, eating, most of us don't eat one time a day, right? We do it throughout the day. We fuel our body. And just like we eat, we also eliminate throughout the day. These are human things that we do. Most of us, because it's not life threatening, right? We know we have to eat because we wouldn't live. We know we have to, drink and eliminate because it literally will be uncomfortable in our bodies. Well, most of us didn't know and learn about the energy mastery part of it, that we need to fuel ourselves and fill ourselves up just by the asking and then feeling yourself in receiving mode. And the first couple of times of doing it, like closing your eyes and just asking for the energy, like just imagining there's like a waterfall of light literally just dripping down your entire body, going inside of your body, outside of your body, and just letting yourself resonate with that energy of joy or purpose or, whatever you choose to call in. And that becomes literally like a little fill-up station on you tuning up your energy bodies, because as much as we are physical, we are energy, and actual more energy than we even are physical, because the extension of our energy field and the etheric field and everything that has to come in to actually make the molecules to contain our physical bodies. There's a lot more to us than we see. And so we have to take care of that energy body just like we would fuel our physical bodies and, make sure that it's hydrated and all that.
Right. And what is the best ways to recharge that energetic body? I mean, you mentioned meditation. Is there any other ways?
There's a lot of different ways to raise your vibration in that way. So you can actually bless the water that you do take into your body, because that, by you blessing the water, there's a whole study, a whole book by Emoto, those hidden messages of water. That when you bless water, it creates a higher vibration. So now you're blessing it, you're drinking that in. That's another way to up your energy bodies, just by even taking the water. When you're eliminating, you can imagine that all the toxins, all negativity, all thoughts you don't want is literally leaving with it, right? There are, when you can bless your food. um, Working out, moving your body is
Mhm.
another way of saying it, for even just 20 minutes a day. It not only helps you biochemically and in your body, but it helps your energy. It helps you become more connected, and it releases the resistance of a lot of stress and things like that. So finding something that you love doing for 20 minutes, whether it's walking your dog, and while you're walking your dog, while you're hiking, while you're exercising, be fueling your mind with positive thoughts. Really, it's like you're exercising your mind with positive. Like if you're going to go lift weights, you're putting in positive thoughts and feel good feeling thoughts into your head, right? Whether it's saying affirmations or doing those kind of things. But all of these are ways that you can increase your vibration, working with your own energy, working with a healer. There's tons of different processes that people we have now these days, which is wonderful. Reading a good book, right? That really makes you think and expands. These are all really good ways. Definitely stimulants, drugs, alcohol, sugar, coffee, things of this nature. It lowers our vibration. Being in a negative environment around negative people, negative thinking, these are all things that lower our vibration.
Right. Yeah. And being in nature, that's another way to recharge.
Yeah.
Right.
Getting
Yeah.
body work done, like I get a massage every week, and that's like my, I love it. It's, going to a spa, getting a facial, doing things that feel good,
Mm-hmm.
that
So
are fun and
pleasure,
easy.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Pleasure is the compass, right? So whatever makes you feel good and really nourishes your soul, not only temporary, fulfilling a need. You know, it's nothing wrong with that, right? Like shopping or
Right.
a glass of wine. Nothing wrong with that, but that is very temporary. It's not really feeding the soul on a deep cellular level. Um,
Yeah.
right. And
And,
yeah,
yeah.
also I also love the practice of gratitude. I feel that that's a total energy shifter,
if
right?
if it's done the right way, because there's a lot of people that do their gratitudes and they do it from the place of their head, and I'll show you the difference. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I could say 5 things I'm grateful for. I'm grateful for my son Alex, my son Maxim, my husband Frederick, my dog Jax, and my amazing team, right? I really didn't I was saying it, I was thinking it, which thoughts of gratitude versus any other thought is a better place, right? But to really have impact is to feel it. And
Mm-hmm.
so instead of just listing things, what I like to do, because it helps me go deeper, is listing, like, for example, my husband, right? I'm grateful for my husband, and then explaining 5 reasons why. I'm grateful for my husband because he's just so sweet and kind, and I'm grateful for him because he's sexy. I'm grateful for him because he is such an amazing dad. Like I was saying earlier, I wish I had him as a dad, because he's just such an amazing dad and partner in that. The way he takes care of my parents, and the way that he just loves to cuddle and be so affectionate. Do you feel the difference between listing out versus the reasons why I'm grateful for him?
Yeah, thank you for that. Absolutely. I myself had an experience just a few months ago where I felt probably for the first time in such intensity, waves of gratitude washing over my body. And it was such a visceral somatic experience. And that was when I was diagnosed with cancer, with melanoma earlier this year. And I'm not going to get into all the details. It was a medical diagnose, and I knew in my gut that it's wrong and it's not right, but I kind of dismissed that for a while. So I had it in my body for over 5 years, let's put it that way. And when I insisted that the doctor takes it out, she said, oh, it's nothing to worry about. And I said, look, I just have this nudge every morning when I look at myself in the mirror and I really want it out. And she said, you know what? If you want it out, we'll take it out. And when it came back from the lab, it was melanoma. And she called me and she said, I've got bad news, it's melanoma. So for 5 days, I was sitting with the knowing that it is melanoma, but not knowing what severity and what it's doing in my body. And the odds were not looking good because I knew that I have it in my body for 5 years, at least. So that was a whole other process that I went through, which was very, very profound and many blessings, like in every situation. But when I went to see a specialist and he said to me, look, you are very lucky because it's all contained in that one piece. And once we remove that, it's gone. And I cannot tell you how embodying gratitude feels like. I literally had waves and waves washing over my body. And I had a visceral experience of what gratitude, real gratitude feels like. So I can totally resonate with what you're saying.
Yes, that's a beautiful story. Wow. And to come back into that space of gratitude, right? Because it'd be easy to go, who's at fault and who's to blame? And, you know, coming from a place of anger, and you chose to be in gratitude. That's huge.
Right. Yeah. And I felt that it was, you know, in the hands of grace, because ultimately, you know, I went through the worst case scenario in my mind when I was sitting for those uncertain 5 days. And I've had the deepest meditations ever, which was quite profound because it really showed me the journey that I walked through, and being able to hold that space and knowing that whatever the case will be, I trust that, you know, life is happening for me and not to me, and that there is a higher power at work. And even if it means that I need to leave this dimension, then that's what it means. And I sat with that, knowing with no fear of dying, which is quite profound lesson. But the lessons, the teachings that came after were just elevating me to the next level of my being, because I've obviously created so much change. I looked at, you know, where my energy is consumed, and I reprioritized my life, and I simplified my life, and I decided to slow down. And I think that's the biggest teachings of cancer. It's the understanding of our mortality, right? We are here in this body for a short amount of time, and that's really the reality of it. And what do we do with that short amount of time? And it also, this journey helped me to really throw away all my insecurities. You know, I always have a little bit of self-conscious about my English abilities. You know, my kids always correct me and always laugh at my accent and things like that. And you know, there were times that I kind of contracted because of it, or stumbled upon my own words, or, you know, and I decided, well, all of that is really not important because my mission is so much bigger than me. And if I, you know, make mistakes, it's okay. It's who I am. And you know, I'm not going to play small because of it. So yeah, it's been really a profound lesson for me. And
for your girls.
And for my, for my girls and boy. I've got a boy as well.
2 girls and a boy?
Yeah.
I mean, for your boy, for both, for all, right? But for really as a girl, you know, and learning from her mom. I mean, you're showing all of them really to be authentically who you are.
Right. And what was
and
also
to
really,
love and accept
and what
yourself.
was also really,
Go ahead.
we've got a little bit of delay, but
Go
we'll
ahead.
work with that. What was really amazing is that the story was just in time to fit into my book. And I literally wrote about the language that the body speaks and how every, every physical condition, every disease, every misalignment is, it's an invitation to change. It's an invitation to take responsibility and come back home, come back into alignment. And
Yes.
exactly, I just finished writing that and came the experience. So it was really walking my talk again.
Yeah, that's the fun thing about being a committed person walking your own experience and then teaching others about it, especially in a form of a book. The Desire Factor is my 7th book, and so it's amazing every time I write a book how I have to master the contents in it, right? And go through the deepest parts of those lessons that I've ever gone through. So when you're saying that, I'm laughing because I'm like, I get that. And it's perfect for the book because your story as a teacher are going to help so many people, because it's so much more impactful when you've got a concept and then you have a story of how you have applied it, right? It's such a deeper teaching. And so thank you for your service of all the people that you're going to help, because you went through it, because you are a teacher of integrity.
Yeah, thank you for that. And it really amplifies the message that every single event that happened to us, and especially the hard lessons, the challenges, those bumps on the road, they are the biggest teachers. They are our Zen masters. They are here to really elevate our growth, our understanding, our evolution, if we are willing to learn from them, if we are willing
Yes.
to take an inventory, take responsibility, right? Knowing that I'm the co-creator of my life. And as you mentioned before, I manifest it whether I want it or not consciously. On another level, I did manifest that, and that takes great responsibility.
Yes. The council is who I channel, the quantum council, and I do first person channeling with them now. And I've pivoted a lot of my business and everything from Christy and the council now, doing more channeling work in that way than just coaching and that sort of thing. And one thing that they always say is that any contrast that happens in our life, whether it could be extreme or not extreme, that's always a gift. And look at it as like a gift that we get, not as like necessarily a lesson. I know a lot of us say lessons because, they said from a perspective, when kids go through school, they have their lessons and they have to keep going from school, and it's not necessarily a fun process. When you look at it as a gift, and when I attract something that's totally unwanted, instead of pushing it away, which causes more resistance, right? I'm able to look at it and go, okay, like a gift, I need to open it up, right? I need to unwrap it. I need to look inside. I need to pick it up. I need to interact with the energy of this thing because I drew it to me. It was not inserted into my experience. So unless I open it up, feel the energy of it, and when I do, I can then release it and then choose a different energy, right? That's when it gets transmuted. That's when it truly is a gift, because it's always a gift going from resistance into freedom. So freedom on the other end is always the gift. And I love that when they say that, because it's like, oh, this is such, and I would say to them, could I have diamond earrings instead of this gift? Can I return this one and get something in exchange?
Right. And that almost, want me to add that it's really about accepting first, right? Whatever comes,
Yes.
first accept it, because that's your gift, even if you can't really see that it's a gift. Maybe it's wrapped in a paper that you need to dig in and check what is the real gift, right? Sometimes it's a blessing in disguise. You have to unravel it. But nevertheless, I like to say that if we knew how much love and support we have in the unseen world, we would never spend another day worrying.
Yes. But no truer words have ever been spoken. It's so true. That's for me, one of the biggest life-changing pivotal moments was when I started channeling the council. And what they always say is that we are infinitely loved. And there was just this sense of like, wait a minute, I'm loved no matter what. If I never do or accomplish or anything again, I'm still loved. If I make a mistake and I lose my temper, I'm still loved. If I miss a client on my calendar and the client's upset and I made a mistake, wait a minute, I'm still loved. There's nothing that I could do where I wouldn't be loved. Like that never goes away. That is a life-changing experience when you embody that and go, okay, I guess I could just be me then. And if I'm just going to be loved, I'll accept that love and stop beating myself up, because I learned that and that doesn't feel good, right? Being in lack and feeling like no matter what I do or accomplish or have or, is never enough. Like the divine that infinitely loves me and you and all doesn't ever go there. So why do I don't need to go there either. I'll just stay in the space of enjoying my life. Because as we said before, it's a very short trip, relatively speaking.
Right. And yet most of us have not really experienced it fully from our parents, and bless them, but they have not experienced that. So they hadn't had a relative experience to pass it on. And of course, unresolved pain and a lot of dysfunctional survival mechanisms that they had to adopt because of generational trauma. So we as young kids never experienced that unconditional love. It's almost like love was conditioned to how we behave, what we achieve, how we look, what we do, how we please, right? So we have to really undo that wiring that we grew up with to understand, to accept, to receive that unconditional love that is available for us from the higher frequencies.
Yes, absolutely. It's a very different exchange between a human to human. And when we look at another person, whether it's our parents or our lover, our kids, whomever it is, when we look to someone else to be our source of anything, whether it's support or freedom or respect or appreciation or any of these things, when we're expecting them to source us up, to fill us up, they will feel the pull. They'll feel like they're never enough. And for us, it won't ever be enough because they're not our source and they can't fill us up. Divine and energy is what fills us up. And when we come from a place of feeling loved, right, we come from a place of feeling good within ourselves, now we have so much more to give. And what comes back is just a higher level of energy between everybody. And it's not like you have to please me in order for me to be happy. It's like, if you would change, I'll be happy. We don't have to do that anymore, because as I'm just going to be happy, you be happy too. Right. And yes, there are things that we need to communicate in relationships, like, ouch, that didn't feel good. Or, please, I don't like to be talked to in that way. Right. Like there's moments of creating boundaries, but to say what's okay and not okay, but it's understanding that the energy comes from source and it's unlimited. There's no limitations. It's not conditional. It's forever there.
Yeah. And you talk in your work about emotional dial. Can you maybe dive a little bit into it? What does it mean?
Yeah, so it's like having, your channel, like, when I was a kid, obviously, when we had TV, we had to get up and go walk to the TV and like change the station, right? And we had a dial. And so it's like that. It's understanding that when you switch from one station to the next station, you're switching frequencies, you know, and because you're tuning in to a different frequency, you then get a different picture. Well, it's like that for us too. That if we want a different picture, if we want a different interaction in our real life world, the things that we can see and taste and touch and smell and hear and all that stuff, If we want that to change, we have to change our emotional dial, meaning we cannot be in the dial, the station of lack and limitation, of frustration and fear and worry, and attract and experience a life of abundance. They're two totally, it's like trying to watch a Western when you're on a station that has, back in the day, Charlie's Angels, right? Or some of the more, you're trying to watch Cobra Kai, and you want to watch, but you're on the Manifest station, right? You're trying to watch a movie that's not on Netflix. And so that's what we do all the time, because we're just not aware of our vibrations. And the fact that all energy carries a vibration, it's a spectrum. It's kind of like a piano, like if you see the keys on a piano, you've got keys that are low, and then you got keys that are high, right? Or keys that are high, keys that are low. And, like these notes, these tones, these frequencies, they represent emotions like appreciation and gratitude and purpose, passion, love, freedom, beauty, success, well-being, joy, love, all of that is the high vibrations. And so if we want to experience those emotions and how they form themselves, right, in our experience, we have to tune into that. If we're on the note of anger, and that's what we're vibrating out to the universe, that is always responding to our energy and our vibration, then how can we experience the joy over here? We can't, because we're in anger. And so staying in anger as a set point attracts more things that, guess what, push our buttons and make us more angry, because it's the same frequency and momentum. We are literally on that channel and haven't changed it. So it's literally changing the dial, changing the frequency on, oh gosh, what I just said or what I just thought or what I've been feeling is so in lack. I need to change the dial. I need to dial that up so that I'm choosing to be in joy. I'm going to speak words of joy now. I'm going to think thoughts of joy. I'm going to joyfully expect the best to happen. I'm going to have faith that, life is working out for me, and light is always, on my side, and I'm co-creating with the divine. And, that's what we need to turn our dial to, right? Get on the other side of, it's fine if you want to attract things like, being a victim and creating victim consciousness and drama and struggle and chaos. I did that for years. I got a PhD in it. And it's like that was a choice that I had because I didn't know any other way. And that's where my life literally took a pivot, when I was like, wait, what? My thoughts are not real. This limitation in my head is not real. This is the thing that I've been telling myself, that's not true. I can actually choose a different thought that creates a different reality and creates a different feeling sense. I'm on board. And I dove right into that and haven't looked back since.
Yeah, I completely resonate, and I write about it in my book as well. It's really about making, first of all, inventory of what is going on in our mind, right? Because our thoughts and our emotions are very linked together, and oftentimes we feel the emotion, but we don't actually track the thought that brought that emotion. So it's looking into the mind and making that link. Okay, I'm feeling frustrated. What was I thinking? I'm feeling angry. What was I thinking? And once we pinpoint that thought, okay, how can I choose another empowering thought instead of that will serve me better? And it's really a repetitive task until it comes more naturally to stop and really take notice of what's going on. And of course, the most important thing is that when we fall or, we carrying on with negative thoughts, not to beat ourselves for doing so, because that's again a whole other, right, a vortex. We would just deepen in it. So really being very compassionate with ourselves, right, in the process.
Well, compassion, yes, being compassionate, the energy of compassion takes us away from being judgmental and critical and beating ourselves up. When you allow yourself to have that feeling of compassion for that human moment that just happened, right? where that was something that did not feel good being a human. Like, that's what I'll tell myself. I'm like, well, that didn't feel good being a human. That was not a fun human experience. So I allow myself to then feel a compassion. And you're absolutely right. I mean, our thoughts and our emotions are so interconnected. And the reason why so many people stay stuck and you know, maybe even start their journey in therapy, like traditional therapy, is they're talking about how they feel, but they're not feeling and processing it out and being able to isolate it from the thoughts. Because as you're feeling the emotions and you're letting the emotions release, if you allow the thoughts to keep thinking the same thing, the emotions are going to build back up, and vice versa, right? If you're just thinking new, better thoughts, right, but you're not doing anything with the emotions to release them, it's like you're going to have to be planting a lot of, you know, saying a lot of affirmation because it didn't stick in the emotions, right? So it's like working both ways, and understanding it's not, you know, there's I know there's a lot of, and I appreciate this industry and all the people that, you know, add and contribute and everything, but there are mindset coaches where they're like, it's all about the mindset, and it's a part, it's a huge important part, but then there's the emotional intelligence that both, you know, they work like a teeter-totter, and they work in unison with each other, and you can't just do one without the other.
I love what you just said, and the way I see it is, and you really did that, you know, hand movement, which really cannot be more spot on, is the feminine and the masculine energies that we all have inside. So I see the mind as the masculine, the thoughts are masculine, and the emotions are feminine. And, you know, they work hand in hand together. And if they communicate in union, then, you know, then creation happens, growth happens, change happens. But if they isolated, if they fight each other, if they collide, right?
I'm just thinking about most men and women relationships, how they're always, you know, not all obviously, but you know, how they don't understand each other, and you know, they don't work together. But then you have relationships that are conscious and where they do work together when there's, you know, different different opinions on things and that sort of thing, and you work in harmony together, and that's when the whole house is peaceful, and you know, there's joy in the experience of being in a family, versus those that are just constantly, you know, at odds with each other,
Right.
with the thoughts and the emotions.
Right. And again, that external scenario is a reflection of what happens internally, right? So we
Yes,
cannot bring
exactly.
harmony in our external relationships before we have it within us. So
Exactly.
yeah, so really I see that as the work. The work is always internal, no matter what, right?
And why
Um,
don't anybody tell you that until you stumble upon it and you go, what? Wait a minute. I just lived 25 years of my life thinking that it was all about rearranging the stuff outside. I didn't know it was all about me inside of me, because I was always told, don't be so selfish, right? If you're selfish, you have to be literally self-centered to be able to know what you're thinking, what you're about to say, how you're perceiving things, what you're expecting, what you feel or don't feel, what action you're going to take. You have to know and be connected enough to yourself to be able to feel and connect with the divine life partner that each of us have. And yet so many, especially women, are told, don't be so selfish, don't be so self-centered, right? It's interesting. Who else am I going to be centered in? My son? I can't be centered in my son or my husband. I can only be centered in myself. And when I am centered in myself, I feel safe, I feel expanded, I feel good, I feel joyful, right?
Right. And I think that comes a little bit from, you know, many generations of patriarchy where especially women were selfless. They were less than, they were there to please and serve and, you know, completely on the expense of their own desires and their own wishes. So I think maybe the pendulum is swung a little bit to the other side of being selfish and only care about yourself, nobody else, but really the right healthy balance is being self-centered and really take residence inside ourselves, because really the universe surrounds me. I see it the way I see it, through my own lenses, through my own perceptions, and what I see and perceive is completely different to anyone else, right? So really the
Exactly.
universe surrounds each and every one of us as far as we are concerned.
The universe lives through us, through our
Mhm.
eyes. We get to see that divine part of us gets to experience through us individually and uniquely. And that's what's fun is that, but we have to be centered within ourselves and feel that collection of energies of, harmony and peace and joy, or just satisfaction. Because when we feel that, everybody else around us feels that. It affects everybody. We have more to give when we actually are in a container of energy versus being depleted with energy, because we've brought it in but gave it to everybody else, and now we have nothing left for ourselves. It feels so much better when you're actually contained in energy and you give from the overflow. There's just it's a continuous flow of good energy, and there's no lack involved.
Yeah, and I think the journey of motherhood is such a great teacher, right? Because as a mother, the natural tendency is to serve, but whenever I come from an empty place, which happens sometimes, I feel resentment, and it's only when I take the
Yes,
time and take the commitment to invest in myself first, then I can give from an abundant flow.
absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
Right.
Such a
So,
good conversation.
yeah, thank you so much. It was such an enlightening conversation. And I know that you have an amazing gift for our audience. So I'll let you speak about it.
Yes, well, we talked about how it's important for us to watch our words and our thoughts and on all that. And the first place to start is always with your words. So I created a free 30-day program. It's 30 days of videos. They're short and sweet, 2 to 4 minutes in length. And they tell you the word or phrase that you absolutely want to eliminate from your vocabulary and why, because what it does to your energy, creations and manifestations, your traumas, that whole thing that we just discussed about, and then what to say instead, and to notice the difference when you're speaking something out loud, when you speak something that's in lack, or when you speak something that's in abundance. It literally starts the whole creation of a manifestation. It will literally create something and burst something new, or it can destroy and absolutely limit what you can have and what you can do, what you can experience. So it's called watchyourwords.com.
I love that. I love that because words are really spells, right? They have power,
Yes.
and yeah, thank you for offering such a gracious gift. I'm sure it's gonna serve so many people. So you're welcome to go and download it in the link on this page. And if people want to connect with you, how can they best find you?
So you can go to christywhitman.com. That is my main website. I also have a podcast called the Desire Factor podcast, or you can learn more about the book, thedesirefactor.com.
Thank you so much, Christy. It's been a delight. I really utterly enjoyed it. And thank you for all the goodness you do in the world. It's really, really
I
appreciated.
appreciate you. Oh, thank you. Well, I'm happy to serve next to you in light. So thank you for all that you're doing to
Oh,
support
thank
everybody in
you.
light.
Thank you. And blessings your way.
Thank you so much.
Ciao.
Thanks for including me.
It's my pleasure.